Vasili Arkhipov is one of those historical figures who wasn't widely known during his lifetime. Yet many people, including historians, think he likely prevented a nuclear war that probably would have wiped out most of humanity before its conclusion. Arkhipov was a Soviet naval officer aboard a sub, B-59, during the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis in October of 1962. I was 9 years old, and I believe I would never have seen 10 if not for this man. What happened? On October 27, 1962, often called Black Saturday, American warships detected B-59 near Cuba. To force the submarine to surface, U.S. ships dropped small signaling depth charges. The Soviet crew, cut off from communication with Moscow, did not know these were warning charges. They also had no way of knowing whether a nuclear war had already begun on the surface. Inside the submarine, conditions were miserable. Temperatures were extremely high. Carbon dioxide levels were rising. Batteries were running low. The crew had been under stress for days. The captain, Valentin Savatsky, believed war might already have started and wanted to launch the submarine's nuclear torpedo. The political officer agreed. Unlike most Soviet submarines, B-59 had Arkhipov aboard as flotilla chief of staff. Because of his rank, a nuclear launch required his agreement as well. Arkhipov said no. Instead of launching, he argued for surfacing and waiting for clearer information. Eventually, the submarine did surface, and the crisis passed without a nuclear exchange. So why do people call him the man who saved the world? No one knows for certain what would have happened if that torpedo had been fired, but many historians believe a Soviet nuclear attack on U.S. naval forces during the Cuban Missile Crisis would have triggered a rapid escalation that, given the tensions of the time, may well have led to a full nuclear war. In 2002, Thomas Blanton famously called Arkhipov the man who saved the world. Was it because you had already survived K-19, a nuclear emergency that killed crewmates, that you had the calm and clarity to say no when it mattered most? I'll never know. But what makes your story special to me, besides the obvious, is that you weren't a president or a prime minister or even a famous general. You were just one person in a cramped submarine, exhausted and under incredible pressure, who refused to follow an order you believed was wrong. History often remembers the leaders standing at podiums. You are one of those rare cases where the fate of millions may have hinged on the judgment of a single, relatively unknown person. An ordinary human being caught in an extraordinary moment, whose name most people never learn, even though your decision may have affected every person alive today. We salute you at the last witness.
The ocean's got a memory, though men forget the names. It keeps the stories buried deep beneath the tides and rain. There was a boy from Russia who learned the sailor's trade and found that fate can turn a life on choices people make. He sailed aboard K-19 when the reactor failed, and brave men walked through poison fire where lesser courage paled. He watched them pay the awful price to save the crew below, and carried all their ghosts with him wherever he would go. And when the world stood on a knife and fear became the law, when every voice around him said, "Fire before we're lost," he heard the dead of K-19. He knew what war could do, and one tired sailor changed the world by saying, "No, not you." Just one word, just one voice, just one man who made a choice. October '62, they say, the Cold War running hot. A Soviet boat beneath the waves, forgotten by the world above. The depth charges shook the steel, the air was thick and thin. The captain thought the war had come, the end had now begun. A nuclear torpedo sat like judgment in the dark, enough to light the ocean floor with one celestial spark. The captain wanted vengeance, the officer agreed, but Arkhipov remembered things that panic cannot see. And when the world stood on a knife and fear became the law, when every voice around him said, "Fire before we're lost," he heard the dead of K-19. He knew what war could do, and one tired sailor changed the world by saying, "No, not you." Just one word, just one voice, just one man who made a choice. History loves its presidents, its speeches and its crowns, but sometimes all the future hangs in places underground. No cameras caught the moment, no crowds began to cheer, just sweating men in metal walls and one man conquering fear. When the world stood on a knife and fear became the law, when every voice around him said, "Fire before we're lost," he carried every lesson learned, every friend he knew, and one tired sailor saved the world by saying, "No, we don't." Just one word, just one voice, just one man who made a choice. The ocean keeps a secret still beneath the moonlit glow, but all of us are living here because one man said no. The ocean's got a memory, though men forget the names. And somewhere in those silent depths, it whispers his again.